And my
children go out and play in the street if they decide to break out because they've got nothing left to live for. God knows what could happen if something like Dover happens, or they decide to have a riot or break out.
The numbers being held at Manston have now started to reduce as the government moves migrants by coach to hotels away from Kent. But ministers still seem unable to reduce the numbers crossing the Channel in the first place. The immigration minister said today that the Prime Minister was very focused on the migrant crisis. He said the government will be looking at radical options to ensure that economic migrants are quickly returned to their countries of origin and to try to deter people from coming to the UK in the first place. But the opposition said that the Home Secretary's language yesterday, in which he described an invasion of southern Britain, had done nothing to help.
Daniel Sanford, thank you. So almost 40,000 people have crossed the English Channel in small boats this year, a record number. But how does that compare to the number of asylum seekers who've been smuggled across the Channel on the back of lorries, for example, over the years? And how does the situation here now compare to EU countries? Our Home Editor, Mark Easton, has been looking at the figures. Mark.
Thanks, Sophie. So Britain's asylum system is in crisis. That is according to the Home Secretary. And here is evidence. These photographs obtained by the BBC were taken inside a Home Office facility in Dover in the last 10 days. They show unaccompanied children who've arrived in small boats sleeping on thin mats under blankets on the floor of what is an office waiting room. Now, we don't know much about the youngsters other than they're deemed to be under 18 and are seeking asylum in the UK. Just a handful from the increasing numbers coming across the Channel. There were 300 people in 2018, and as we've just heard, 40,000 this year already. So is Britain experiencing unusual pressures? Over the last 40 years, there have been peaks and troughs in UK asylum claims depending on wars and displacement. There were spikes in the early 90s and early noughties. Since then, the picture has stabilised. The method of arrival has shifted from hiding in the back of lorries to small boats in the Channel. But even though last year saw around 56,000 asylum seekers arriving, that's still well below the numbers, as you can see, 20 years ago. So is the UK unusual in having so many people asking for sanctuary? Well, no. Germany, France and Spain all had more asylum applications than Britain last year. And when you compare the numbers to population, well, the UK is down here in 19th place in Europe in terms of the impact.
The biggest challenge, I think, in the UK system at the moment is that there just doesn't seem to be enough processing capacity to make decisions on people's applications. We know that asylum application numbers go up and down, so part of the job of government is to put in place resources to deal with that, because at the moment we have a big backlog building up of people who are waiting over a year in most cases, sometimes even 2 or 3 years to get an initial decision on their application.
Now, France saw more than 120,000 people claiming asylum last year, and that's double the number in Britain. Some, of course, arrive and hope to leave the French coast and seek asylum here in the UK, but are they within their rights to do so? The UK government argues they should claim in France, which is a safe country. But what does the law say? Well, the Refugee Convention says states shall not impose penalties on refugees coming directly from a territory where their life or freedom was threatened, coming directly. But the UN says asylum seekers don't have to claim in the first safe country that they reach. Now, the government wants to deter asylum seekers from coming to Britain by unofficial routes, criminalising their arrival and threatening to send, as we know, some to Rwanda. The Home Secretary has talked of capping the number who can go. But refugee agencies say what's needed are long-term solutions, a network of safe routes, and considering perhaps some asylum claims overseas. What almost everyone agrees is that there's no quick fix. Sophie.
Oh, thank you. Police are investigating the death of an 88-year-old woman after she was allegedly attacked at a care home in Bedfordshire. Sheila Hartman, who had dementia, was taken to hospital with head injuries after the incident in early October. Her son claims she was attacked by another resident. An inquest is due to be opened and adjourned into her death tomorrow. Here's our social affairs editor, Alison Holt.
For Richard Urridge, this box holds precious memories of his mother.
She was into knitting, embroidery, and crochet.
Sheila Hart